I get asked to talk about leadership, not because I'm a great leader. I'm still trying to be a good leader. And I think that's why all of you are probably here, is because you're trying to practice and be a better leader. And so that's what I'm doing. And by being here talking with you, it helps me think about it. It helps me kind of reaffirm some of the thoughts I have about leadership. And it helps me practice the whole art of trying to be a better leader. So I'm here to learn with you, not because I'm a great leader. I'm still working at it, and hopefully you are too. So I got lots of thoughts about leadership. I don't have any formula for you this morning on how to be a great leader, but I have a lot of thoughts about it, and it's helped me, and hopefully it'll help you. But the first thing is, leaders lead people, managers lead process. A lot of times people think, because I'm a manager, I'm a leader. No, managers manage process, leaders lead people. Often at the bank, somebody might be talking with, mentoring somebody, and they might say to me, I really, trying to get promoted, I want to get a title, I want to be a manager, manage people. No, that's a mistake. You want to lead people, manage process. And that leaders also embrace change. And managers like consistency and no change because they got a process. And they don't like to mess with the process if it's working. And that's okay. You got to be a good manager of processes. But you have to recognize when it's time to change some processes. And great leaders will embrace change, and they're willing to make that change. So don't confuse being a good manager and being a good leader. So I'm a banker, so the chairman of Wells Fargo made this statement. He said, people at the top should above all be leaders. Quite often they act like managers who administer things. Managers need control and rely on systems. Leaders innovate and rely on people. Same thing. He's just saying, managers manage process. So let's get rid of managers. People don't want to be managed, they want to be led. Who ever heard of a world manager, a world leader? Yes. An educational leader, a political leader, religious leader, scout leader, community leader, labor leaders, business leaders. They lead, they don't manage. Carrot always wins over the stick. Ask your horse, and you can lead your horse to water, but you can't manage him to drink. If you want to manage somebody, manage yourself. Manage yourself, and we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Do that well, and you'll be ready to stop managing and start leading. I found this in 1981 when I first joined the bank. United Technologies would publish Gray's Matter, it was called. It was a guy named, General Gray? No, he was the chairman of the company. Sorry, there is a General Gray, but he was chairman of the company. And they were just things that he said. And they published them in the Wall Street Journal. And I've kept that since 1981 because I think it's so meaningful. The other thing is, besides managers and confusing managers and leaders, is so authority is granted. Leaders are developed. So just because you have a title, just because you have all the authority because of your position, does not mean you're a great leader. In fact, the first lesson we all ever had in this was this movie, The Wizard of Oz. So not know how got to see the wizard. So the wizard had all the authority. He had complete authority. He was the top guy at Oz. And this young lady, she had no authority, no title, nothing. But as you think about the movie, she turns out to be a great leader. And he who had all the authority, title, everything, turns out to really be terrible, almost a fraud. She had a real vision. All leaders have a vision. She had a real vision. She just wanted to get home, so she had a purpose, wanted to get home. Her vision was if she could walk this yellow brick road and get to Oz to see the wizard, this would get her home. But in fact, we all know she got there, and on her way, she picks up these three characters, and she imparts her vision to them. And she becomes a servant to them. She says they can follow her to Oz. And then when they get there, the guy with all the authority tells them they have to go get the broom from the witch. He was willing to send them to certain death. He had all the authority. Having all the authority has nothing to do with leadership. The best leaders talk often about the future and how it will be better than the present. Think about leaders in your life. They're always talking about the future. They're future-oriented. They're learning-oriented. They're curious. They're always trying to move forward and create options. Always trying to create options. And when you think about Dorothy, these problems were developing, as she's on her way to try to get the broom she was always creating different options for them to keep moving forward. Great leaders always are future-oriented. She's a serving leader, and there is such a thing as a serving leader. So you must be driven to call, to serve, not to be served. Leaders are leading people. They're serving people. It's not about controlling people. It's about leading and serving them. And leaders run the problems. They don't run from them. When they see a problem, they go meet the problem. They seek the problem. They don't run from problems. And think about many leaders in your own life, and you probably can see where sometimes they kind of run from problems and they don't handle the problem, and it disappoints you. There's an emotional component to leadership, and leaders understand this. They understand they say something, people hear it. So if you have a vision and you're trying to impart that vision and you want to lead people, you can talk about the vision. The first time people hear it, but you got to keep repeating it. You got to keep talking about your vision. And then people start to conceptually believe it, and they believe in you. And then they get to an emotional state where they're willing to live it with you. It's not, being a leader isn't just, it develops. It's not an event. It develops. And you really have to understand this emotional component of it and be able to talk to people and just keep getting your vision across until they are willing to live it with you. Very important. So, leadership's all about getting people to believe, because if they believe, they'll behave correctly and you'll get the right results. It's belief, behaviors, results. So, my definition, I said I didn't have a formula for leadership, but the best definition I ever got was effective leaders are able to consistently capture, hold, and focus the attention of people on the mission and their individual part in achieving it. Sounds fairly simple, but if you break the words down, which I'd like to do with you, and think about it. So you have to consistently, day in, day out, consistently capture, hold, and focus people's attention on the mission and their individual part in it. So how do you capture? Well, first, you have to consistently, day in, day out, not part-time, consistently capture, focus, and hold people's attention. You've got to be predictable. You can't be a chameleon. People have got to see you, if you're a leader, that you're very consistent. You're consistent in your behavior. You're consistent in your message. You don't waffle. You're very, very consistent. People are willing now to start to listen. So capture. So how do you capture hold and focus somebody's attention. So there's a lot of attributes right there. But what it really boils down to is you got to be an energetic, enthusiastic, passionate person that smiles, and people want to be with you. If you want to call that captivating, okay. But leaders that you think about, they're optimistic, they're energized, they're fun. They have a vision. They have a sense of humor. They have a purpose. People will start to follow you when you're like that. When you really, really are captivating because of all those attributes. So, consistently capture people. Here's what it's about. Leaders are transforming, not transactional. We often call political leaders, we call them political leaders or politicians. I think they're very transactional, personally. I don't think they're very transforming. I just can't call them leaders. There's a few, but they're transactional. I just want your vote. Leaders are transforming. It's a mutual support. They're serving you. Leaders are serving you. They don't want to be served. So you've got to be willing, if you want to be a leader, that it's all about your serving people. It's all about the attitude I give you, I get back in performance. Great leaders give people a great attitude, so they want to perform. So, consistently capture, hold, focus people's attention. So how do you hold people's attention? So you got this vision. You're an energized person. People are ready to follow you. How do you hold on to them? All these attributes. Continuous feedback. Breakfast of champions. That's the breakfast of champions. It's continuous feedback to people. Staying committed, the consistency we talked about, just being fair, trustworthy. Being a good Boy Scout, actually. Courageous, trustworthy, all the things Boy Scouts are, and Girl Scouts. You have to be empathetic. Empathetic is very important because you're serving. As a leader, you're serving people. Somehow we get this idea of leader that, you're all powerful and everybody's just, no, you're serving the people that are following you. You have to be empathetic. Always public praise, private with the coaching. Because you want to maintain people's self-respect. Always showing appreciation and recognition. Lots of attributes here. We won't go through them all. But also making good decisions. So how do you make a good decision? It's really pretty easy. Always be truthful. Always try to have your decision be fair to all concerned. Even when it's a tough decision and somebody might be affected, you have to do it in a way that people believe it was fair to all concerned. So you create goodwill and all benefit in some way. Easy. Make a decision the right way if you can stick to these things. So, capture, hold, and focus people's attention on the corporate mission as a leader. This one is really hard, getting people to really focus on the mission that you're trying to present as a leader. And great leaders, they just communicate the heck out of things, either in writing, in speaking, in talking, with symbols, storytelling. They're just great at imparting that vision, talking about the vision. They get very granular too. They're able to get very granular with their communication. Always with clarity about values, the purpose, goals, expectations, responsibilities. It's about meticulous preparation. A lot of people just don't want to do it. They just don't want to do the meticulous preparation. But yet, to be a leader, it takes that. And you have to practice. It's not about training people. It's about practicing with them. It's repetitive. That's how you stay focused as a leader, and that's how you keep the people you're leading focused. Communication in every form. And the meticulous preparation is important because to prepare is to care. To prepare is to care. I mean, if you're a serving leader, all that preparation is because you care about the people you're leading. And they'll see that, and they'll know that. They'll know it was about them. I always say to people at the bank, not down, not known. If you don't write it down, it's not known. If you're going to be accountable for things, write it down. Don't come in and say, well, I really did that. No, not down, not known. Because I said, to prepare is to care. If you don't write it down, if you don't do the meticulous preparation, you're saying, I don't care. So if you walk away with anything this morning, to prepare is to care, not down, not known. So leaders always have the clarity about where we're going, where are we now? They're able to tell people, where are we now? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What do you want me to do? But the way leaders do it is this. They start with why, then work their way to how, and then to what. Others start with what, how, and then why we're going to do it. Leaders start with why. They start with the vision. They always start with why we're going to do this. And when you think about great leaders that you've been around or witnessed, that's where they start. They start with the why. Why are we going to go on this journey? Then how, and then what it's going to take. Managers usually start with what. This is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and this is why we're going to do it. Very important. This is why it's important. I know that you believe what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. My wife, this is her favorite. You can really think you've communicated. You can really think that you've done all the preparation, that you've gotten your message across, that you've really got your vision down. You've talked about it. You've done storytelling. You've done symbols and so on. Communication's difficult. To really get everybody on the same sheet of music. Simple messages relentlessly repeated. That's what it's about. Simple messages relentlessly repeated. Break your vision, have your vision, but then your messaging, keep it simple. Be real. And be relentless in repeating the message and the vision over and over to your group, to the people you're leading, that you want to lead. This is tough business. This isn't easy to do, actually. This is about being on all the time and being consistent. So, capture, hold, focus people's attention. So if you get to that point where you've captured and you're holding and you've focused their attention on the corporate mission, well, attention for leaders is all about having a group of people that are in a condition of readiness. Their consciousness is being ready. They're receptive. They're ready to assume. They're willing to lead. So now you think, okay, we got it made. We've consistently captured, hold, and focused their attention. We're ready to go. No, we've got more work to do. Got the mission. What is the mission? Well, you got to break that down too. You got to get real granular there. You've got to get real meticulous there and be able to tell people what do they need to do today, what should they be doing for the week, what does kind of the year look like. This is in a corporate context of leadership. But then they got to understand how their department works against what's going on in the region, what's going on in the whole corporation. And those things have to coexist. You just can't, and you got to help people break all that down. Because if you just assume they're going to do it themselves, it won't. And it's part of that meticulous preparation. It's part of showing you care. So the mission's really important, but it's a whole lot of work itself once you get there. And then the individual, their part in it. They got to know, okay, I'm a cog in the wheel here, but what's in it for me? And and people want to know what's in it for me. They want to know what kind of satisfaction they'll get from it and how it helps their quality of life and their balance in life. So there's an individual component that leaders need to make sure that they're empathetic towards for the people following them. So that's my definition of leaders: consistently capturing, focusing, holding the attention on the corporate mission and their individual part in it. So when you think about all the things that it takes to be a good leader, all those attributes I talked about, well, I don't believe you can be a good leader if you're not also a good follower. I'm not always in a position of leading. Sometimes I'm a follower. And good followers understand and are empathetic towards their leadership. And the same attributes that are a good leader, a good follower would have: fair, empathetic, passionate, energetic. Be an energetic follower. You're not always a leader. When you're not, be a great follower. The other thing is, always seek to have your level of influence exceed the level of your authority. So think about that for a second. The unofficial leader. In every group I've ever led, when I'm making decisions for the group, there's always a couple of unofficial leaders in the group. They might be because it's more of an older person that's a senior person, might be just somebody that's a really, the group just gravitates towards. They're kind of a leader within the group. They're unofficial leaders. And I don't make changes without sort of talking to them maybe individually about it. Because it's important to have their buy-in for the others. Because the others are going to look to that person or two and see what do they think. They're the unofficial leaders in groups. And they're people that their level of influence exceeds their authority. And they're typically people that will rise up to be leaders. So always try to have your level of influence exceed your authority. So what's a healthy leader look like? Well, they're kind, they're patient, understanding, forgiving, slow to anger, eager to be helpful, serious about their responsibility to others, respectful of their freedom, self-confident but not vain, humble but not self-loathing, joyful, at ease with people, and they're balanced in their life. So sometimes it's like, well, what would the dark side of that look like? Well, on the other hand, they tend to be self-righteous, judgmental, unforgiving, resentful, vindictive, grim, rigid, authoritarian, punitive, controlling, obsessive, ill at ease, burdened with guilt. They find gratification in the humiliation and misfortunes of those of whom they disapprove. And we have seen people like that. So I said to you that Dorothy was always helping develop options. When you have options, you make better choices. Lack of options focuses the mind. So leaders are always trying to create options. They're not linear. They're much more global in their view. They're very future-oriented, always looking for different options because that helps make better choices. So here's a dysfunctional leader. Sometimes I said, you know, let's see the dark side. That would be a dysfunctional leader. They're turf protection. It's all about their department. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out. Executive isolation. They shade the truth. Place the blame. They hoard information, even in a digital age. And they have decision hesitation. So that's sometimes it's like we talk about, well, this is what a leader looks like. Well, sometimes it's helpful if you, and here's what one wouldn't look like. So I always throw that in as kind of the dark side. But there's people like that. So watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Your thoughts, that's kind of where we began, was your vision, future-oriented, your thoughts. We're all trying to be better leaders. It's about what we're thinking. So I always like people that, I wish the company was like this or that, and I always think, well, the organization can't be something you're not. So if you want the organization to be like that, then start leading. Start leading and quit complaining. Because the organization can't be something you're not. If you think everybody's bad, then show them what it is to be a good leader. Very important. That's my message today. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, these are just thoughts that I have about leadership, things that have been important to me. And I love sharing it with you. Because as I said, I'm on a journey, always trying to be a better leader. And for me, talking about it, interacting with folks like yourself, helps me think about it. And I love to get feedback. I love to get questions. And so that's, I think, where we are now. And I'd like to take a few questions. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Go ahead. Any? Yes, ma'am.
In accounting, for example, it's very transactional driven. Okay, as you progress in accounting, you get to leadership positions. Do you have any ideas on how to transition from being in a very managing transactions to the leadership? Or you still have some responsibility of managing transactions?
Yeah. I think as you, so the question is, if you're in accounting, and accounting is very transactional, but then as you're moving up through accounting, how do you transition more into where you're using it, you're in the accounting, but you're becoming a leader? And I would say that for me, when I'm dealing with the folks out of finance or accounting, it's the ones that they're not just transactional, but they start to say, hey, if you did this, this would be better. Or have you ever thought about doing this? Or could I run some numbers for you that doing options, future projections, and so on. So then I start to see you not just as a transactional, accounting person, but somebody that's really trying to, in that narrow part of accounting, trying to be much more future-oriented, learning to do things differently, or how can I create a different vision for you and for your department? Does that help?
Kind of. I'm still dealing with my own department, trying to create a new culture where it's not how we always do things. And again, having come up through that, I realize that resistance to change.
Yeah.
Because, well, this works. And again, you can't get real creative in accounting or you run into problems. So I'm trying to create
A different culture.
Yes.
And that's great. Think about that culture, and then how do you want to communicate that? But start with why. Why do we need a different culture? Or why would a different culture be better? Then you start with the how and the why.
Jim, you spent a lot of time studying leadership, and who do you look up to as a great leader?
They're in different categories. There are some politicians that I would say not good, but that have shown real leadership. But I see it in the corporate world. And, you see it in athletes, so different categories. And then there's historic figures. I mean, Lincoln's one that people have focused on. Theodore Roosevelt's been interesting. So I read. I don't read just about leadership. I read about a lot of figures that I think exhibited pretty good leadership. We just had a dinner at the bank last year for our customers. We had Doris Kern Goodwin in. And she wrote the book on Lincoln, and she just wrote the Bully Pulpit about Theodore Roosevelt. She wrote something about LBJ. She's done 4 or 5 different books. But anyhow, she started, we had a few minutes with her by herself. And she was telling me the attributes of leadership, the common attributes she saw in all the presidents that she had written about. And it was interesting to hear her take on that. But I'm not, there's a lot of different ones. I'm finding the leadership that the Pope is currently exhibiting pretty interesting. He's tough job. I'm watching that right now.
Is there certain advice that you give to young professionals that are, wanting to work their way up in the company, feel that that they have leadership skills, but that their leadership skills they feel they have them, but they feel that as they're growing within a company, sometimes they feel like people are sort of stopping them along the way, where they're excited to really get rocking and rolling and moving. It's a fast-moving generation. So is there mentoring, first of all, that's done, or a certain way that Huntington deals with it? And also, do you have advice that you typically sit down and give these young millennials or give young professionals who are a few years out of college and are just, they have a lot of great ideas, and sometimes it's hard to be patient and wait to be able to.
We don't have formal mentoring. We've tried that at different times. There are some informal ones. Nobody would stop you if you kind of wanted to do that within your division or something, but it's not a formal one. But I would say to people that want to be, they feel that they've got the capability and they want to serve people, they want to be a leader, they want to serve them, that they should seek out mentors themselves. Why wait for the company to give me a mentor? I always liked the the people that kind of catch me in the morning at coffee or whatever and just say, hey, you know, can I have a few minutes with you? You know, I'd just like to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, tell them, email me, or I tell them to, you know, contact the woman that works with me to get on my calendar. And I'm always willing to, and then if that develops into a mentoring, great, happy to do it. So I'd say to young people I'd say, well, why are you waiting? If you want to be a leader, step up and be a leader, but you have to prepare. And if you're going to wait to be assigned a mentor, you might not like the mentor you get. So why not pick one that you like? Pick somebody in the company. Now, if you're going to go right to the CEO, they might say to you, well, I don't want to do that. But, so you have to be a little bit careful about it too. But that's what, you know, step out. I mean, that's what leaders do. They step out. And they ask for more. That's a good question. Good.
Jim, during the presentation, and it was good, I had some questions. If you could expand a little bit, some of the attributes of leadership that you talked about included consistency and granularity and being on message. At the same time, you're saying that leaders need to evolve and change. How do you square some of those attributes of consistency, which you indicated as being managerial versus leadership?
Yeah, that's a good question. Consistent in your message, but if you're feeling that you need to evolve or we need to go in a different way, that then has to become part of your message as to why.
So
and then after you get people buying into the why, then the how and the why.
So if leadership is constantly evolving, then is it that you're always looking, as a leader, looking for the why you're doing something?
I think you're always expressing the why.
Okay.
You're always saying why you're doing it before you start to talk about how and what we're going to do. And I think that consistency is consistency more in your behavior. That you're a predictable leader. That people feel comfortable that you are who you are. That you're real. And that they know how you're going to behave in tough times or good times.
And in your career, has that come up? And can you talk to that a little bit about what was it that was, for lack of a better word, maybe that crucible that tested some of that forced you to really look at yourself and how you were able to implement that within the bank?
Yeah, I mean, I try to always keep my emotions in check. I don't scream and yell. My challenge, believe it or not, has been I was referred to one time as phlegmatic, and I was like, what the hell's phlegmatic? I'm somebody that when there's a problem, I listen. There's two ways to listen. You can listen to respond, or you can listen to understand. The talking heads on TV, they'll listen just to respond to one another, scream at each other. So, but I listen to understand, and I don't react real quickly. I want to think about it, absorb it, and come back. And so people that are looking for answers, when I'm working with somebody that is looking for an answer real quick, I'm not giving one real quick. And that's phlegmatic, I guess. That I sort of back up, and I kind of want to understand what's the behavior behind this. Why this happened? I mean, if there's emergency, or something broke or whatever, yeah, I'm going to respond to that. But when I'm dealing with something that's gone wrong and there's people involved and so on, I'm not real quick to react. My reaction is I want to think about that and try to understand and dig in and find out what's the behavior behind it.
Thank you.
It's just me. And I've chose to, and I know that, and I'm comfortable with that. But I do sometimes know when I happen to work for a guy that he likes answers pretty quick. And so I've learned to, deal with that too.
Thank you.
Just happened to read a book, 5 Levels of Leadership.
I'm sorry, what book?
We just read a book, 5 Levels of Leadership in our company.
Yeah.
And I have 2 medical directors, they have the title, but they have separate departments, and they don't use their title to make things happen. So I'm working with them on influencing. I like the concept that you mentioned about influencing to a high level. Or do you have any examples or good resources for that?
Of good what?
Resources for influencing, up, downward, lateral.
So do I have materials or I don't? I sort of read, I've read all Stephen Covey's stuff, and Dr. Ottie's given me a few things, but offhand I don't.
I just find, I think, I've known Jim for quite a few years, and despite our age differences, he being younger, I've always considered him my mentor. But I think what you do, and you do it so well, is you make connection. So to read a leadership book, you don't have to read a leadership book. You read a book about Teddy Roosevelt, and that's a leadership book. You've always been somebody that fascinates me, that all your work in the community, you can be on this board and then take it over here and apply it. So I don't even know if you know how much you make connections, but maybe talk about that and how you take from one and put it in another situation.
Well, I'm about being a serving leader. I think leadership is serving. So I try to be, and I look at what my job is, and I enjoy my community, and so I like to try to make lots of connections for people. I end up making lots of connections myself, but I just this morning stopped John over there and said, hey, I ran into a guy that he's developing an app that it's for Salesforce, and he's found out that I was on the board of this company, and he asked if I could introduce him to somebody. So I asked John this morning if he talked to this guy. And I'm all about trying to make connections, and then I learn so much from people. They appreciate it. They'll include me. I send out, I'm always sending stuff out to people. If I find articles, and it might be on leadership, I'll send it to them all. I write notes a lot. I'm a big communicator in reaching out and making connections and helping people connect with one another. Because it makes for a better community, it's fun for me, and I get a lot back in return. And I learn a lot from different people. And I read a lot of stuff, and not necessarily just self-help books and leadership. I just read a lot of biographies, histories I like, and I don't, I'll read my business periodicals or around banking, but I try to do a lot outside of my work. And because I just think it builds a better community. And I'm curious. I'm just kind of a curious person, and I think leadership is about being learning focused, future oriented. I spoke to a group, and that's what I said to them was, my message, I was really getting an award, so my message to them was, be learning focused in your life. Don't stop learning. Don't stop thinking, well, I know all that. I don't care how old you are, don't stop. Always be learning focused, be future oriented, have a distinctive brand. Build your brand and be distinctive about it. And then stay connected. And when I say stay connected, I mean, you know, there's too much Twitter, I mean, that's fine, emails are fine and so on, but because they were a young group, I told them, don't drink an email. But really communicate and stay connected with people. And email's fine, but write it out, call people up, go see them. Really keep reaching out, stay connected. You just learn so much, and people appreciate it. Sure. Answered your question. Anything else? Okay, thanks. I appreciate your time.